of the night with eyes of red. Vampires in the alleys where good men dread. Wolfmen howling beneath the pale moon. But justice is coming and coming soon. From saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk among us, secrets they keep, nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. Cryptids themselves, yet they stand tall against the darkness, answering the call for every lost soul, every whispered prayer. They fight for the light in the midnight air. Dark haze. The night is young, the hunt begins. For against the darkness where hope never ends.
In the shadows of forgotten lore, where legends leave footprints and nightmares are written in blood. He's the voice of modern horror, the best-selling author and cryptid researcher, the name behind the nightmare. D.A. Roberts. Joining him in the field, renowned author and field investigator, the man who tracks what others fear to name. The cryptid hunter, the cast master, the one they call Robbie Jed Rains. And the voice of reason in the madness, the analyst, the investigator, the one who sees through the fog. Carrie Doc Davis. Together, they walk the edge of legend and reality. This is the Nightmare Hunter Podcast.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Nightmare Hunters Podcast. And for 2 shows in a row, you had all 3 of us. Unfortunately, Steve couldn't be here. He's working this weekend, but you got the 3 crazy commandos here. And we're hopefully going to be bringing you guys a good show tonight. First off, I hope each and every one of y'all had an amazing Turkey Day. And if y'all are in countries where you don't necessarily celebrate Turkey Day, I still hope you had a good day as well. But boys, I hope you guys had a good day. I know we were texting quite a bit throughout the day, and it was a good holiday. I mean, I got to spend it with family and still hang out with you 2 idiots, so it was a lot of fun.
Yep. Excuse me.
Really nice, Clark. Really nice.
Unfortunately, we were not in the same state because the hijinks might have been legendary.
Oh my Lord.
We're still pretty legendary, even though we was in 3 different states.
That's true.
We might have needed bail money. Just say it.
Just maybe.
Slidell all over again, Jeff.
Yep. That it was, Doc. That it was.
Arlen was asking, so I got to go ahead and repeat it. Doc, how the hell are you?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
That's what we like to hear. So boys, this one's kind of been a while in the making. We've been talking about doing Old West cryptids for a while.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fits right into the whole theme, but I can't believe we hadn't really done so much specifically Old West cryptids before. We did one on gunfighters and cryptids, with some of the stories that from way back, but these are different ones. These are new stories we've turned up, with the exception of a couple you'll find familiar, but we're going to be talking about some stuff tonight you may or may not have ever heard of before. And we're not just talking about Civil War stuff like old Green Eyes. That didn't even get a mention this time.
Right.
But we do have some good ones. Boys, what do y'all think? Y'all ready to get into this?
Oh yeah. Let's get
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's talk about some of these things that we never talked about before. Open some new territory up.
Okay, well, the first thing I want to open this up with, because this happened in the 1880s, the first thing I want to do is re-mention the Teddy Roosevelt Bauman Incident. For a lot of us, that's the oldest one we could find, but now we're starting to find more, because we stopped looking for things like Bigfoot and Sasquatch because those terms didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
We started looking for things like hairy man or wild man or hairy beast, things like that. And guess what? We started finding newspaper articles dating back to the early 1800s. But we all are familiar with The Wilderness Hunter. Teddy Roosevelt wrote the book, The Wilderness Hunter, and it was published in 1893. It is still available. You can still buy that book. I got it on order. It's hasn't shipped yet, but I've got it on order. And obviously it's a reprint. You're not going to get an original printing for a reasonable price, but it told of a trapper named Bauman who with his partner had went up into the mountains to an area that the Native Americans said don't go because there's things up there that you should avoid, and they didn't listen because the sign they were trapping beaver, and the beaver sign was thick. So they went up there, and the first night they were there, something big and hairy and walking on 2 legs entered their camp. And Bauman mentioned waking up to see it, but by the time he grabbed his rifle, it was gone. So he questioned whether he even really saw it at all. But over the next few days, they had strange things happening. Their traps would be broken, things like that. Things would come into their camp and rummage through their supplies. So they finally started getting really freaked out and decided they were going to get the hell out of there. So they started packing up camp, and they had a few traps still out. And instead of leaving them, Bauman said, "You finish packing up camp, I'll go pick up those last few traps and we'll get out of here." So Bauman went out to collect the remaining traps and found that he had a few beaver. And so he took the time to go ahead and, and clean them and get the hides. But so he was a little longer than he'd planned to get back to camp. But when he gets back to camp, he finds his partner dead with massive fang marks on both sides of his throat. And it said the body looked like, in his words, something had gimbaled and cajoled about the body, like rolled on it or jumped on it or something. Like he'd been basically rolled on by this thing, like it was trying to cover it with its scent or just out of pure glee of killing the guy. Wow. But they had hair and marks all over him where something had been all over him. Bauman was so freaked out that, and in this day, those beaver traps were not cheap. Neither was the rest of their hunting equipment. Bauman was so freaked out he could hear the thing screaming. He basically dropped everything and just ran. He ran down the mountainside back to where they left their horses corralled up, got on the horses, and then rode straight out of there. Now, allegedly, Bauman told this story to a young Teddy Roosevelt. But the rest of the stories in Teddy Roosevelt's book are all true stories about his hunting expeditions. So for him to include just this random story that, most people wouldn't believe is odd in and of itself. But Teddy Roosevelt at the time was not in any political office, but he had aspirations. He was still going to plan on going. He hadn't ran for governor of New York yet. He hadn't, but he was actually secretary of the Navy at one time, and then of course later he was president. Teddy had political aspirations, so the last thing he was going to do is tell a story about a monster, and people would think he's crazy. So I firmly believe Teddy was Bauman. Because in college, when Teddy was on the Harvard rowing team, those little skinny ass canoes that they race, he was the point man on the rowing team. And coincidentally, the point man is called a Bauman. And Bauman was his nickname throughout college. Which, yeah, enough to make you think. But if you can look at that and make that, and it's not even a big leap of the imagination. If you can make that leap of the imagination with us that Teddy Roosevelt was Bauman, then we know Teddy Roosevelt knew about cryptids. And one of the first things he did as president was help to create the modern national park system.
And wasn't he one of the like few notables of the day who had allegedly had an encounter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So kind of in the.
He was also a big believer in the Ozarks howler.
Really?
Allegedly, the Ozark National Forest in Arkansas was set aside specifically as a preserve for the Ozarks howler. 1.5 million acres.
Wow. And we've talked about this on the show in a few shows actually, about how many, with all the lands, not just the national parks and all that kind of stuff. How many was it? How many acres?
Over a billion.
Yeah,
over a billion acres.
If you throw in all the state parks and public use ways and
national forests,
you throw all
forest,
in,
public recreation areas, national parks, national forests, all of that. Bureau of Land Management land.
Yeah.
It totals up to over 1 billion acres.
But if you just count the national parks, it's over 88 million.
Right. I remember that. That's the number I remember was 88 million. And then I remember we added all the other stuff up. But 88 million, do you think that's just because he wanted to give them their space? I mean, because he seemed like he was a pretty big advocate. He was a huge conservationist, outdoorsman, hunter, and everything like that. So he definitely had I think he had everything in the right mindset. But it seems like he kind of wanted to develop sanctuaries for all of these things. Allegedly.
He also pushed for hunting seasons to allow the populations time to recuperate, untouched.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was definitely what you call a man's man.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was he was actually a very sickly kid.
Yeah, had asthma.
Had asthma and a few other like childhood maladies that plagued him. And one day when he was about 10 years old, he decided, I'm gonna toughen myself up. And he started doing things that just pushed himself to the limit, and he continued to do it. And he during the campaign trail before he became president, he was actually shot by a would-be assassin. He had his speech folded up in the breast pocket of his jacket. It punched through the speech and went almost 3 inches into his chest. And you know what that son of a gun did? He gave the speech.
Yes, he did.
He shrugged it off and gave the speech with a bullet near his heart. Wow. And afterwards, when he started like getting a little lightheaded, they took him to the hospital and had it removed. But his first reaction was like, "Man, it's fine. Let's give the speech. That's what we're here for."
Damn.
Yeah, they don't make them like that no more.
He was hard as a coffin nail, man. Good Lord.
No kidding.
Tougher
than a $2 steak.
That's right.
Yeah. My mom had. You remember those all about books, whatever, all about whatever. She had some books on all about Jackson and Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt and everything. It was pretty cool, man.
That's cool as hell. Greg House says, I have a unfired Winchester Model 94 in 30-30 made in 1967. It popped up on the screen. It was a Teddy Roosevelt commemorative. Has a medallion in the stock with his image on it. That's cool as hell, dude.
Bless you, Doc. Bless you again, Doc.
I got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah, I felt it coming, and I went ahead and hit mute. So, gave me some warning.
So, what do you boys feel about the Teddy Roosevelt?
Well,
I personally, not only do I feel that he was telling the truth, I think he truly was Bauman.
you know, we've discussed this, and I'm gonna make Doc proud. We've discussed this ad nauseum on the show, and I think the more we talk about it, the more plausible it becomes. It's just there's just so many things. You and I have talked about this so many times. Between the two of us, how many thousands and thousands of voluntary statements have we taken from people? And I've never taken one from somebody that detailed. You usually have to, all right, what happened? Well, he walked in the house and hit me. Come on. You got to give me a little bit more than that. But that's generally the way it is when you're talking. And that's not a knock on people. It's just, they're usually not that detailed and that driven with that kind of articulation. I mean,
right.
Well, and to piggyback on what Robbie just said, I mean, Teddy Roosevelt was known, he was known for many things, but one of the big things he was known for was just being a straight shooter, kind of a no nonsense guy, cut to the chase, known for, he had a lot of personal integrity and wanted everybody else around him to exhibit that same type of integrity. And I honestly, if he would have thought it was a load of bunk, I don't think he would have wanted it associated with his name and wouldn't have put it in his book, because being the type of straight shooter that he was, and he's like, what would it benefit me to put a bunch of horse crap in my book? So
right.
Yep.
I think he had, that's his reputation on the line. And so I think that he put that much stock in that story and felt it was told so heartfelt, so sincere and earnest that he was like, hey man, yeah, I'm going to put this in the book.
Either that or it really happened to him.
That's what I was going to say. That or he was Bauman, Bauman instead of Bowman.
I think one of the main things that always is a red flag to me is that nobody ever came forward and claimed, hey, that was me.
Yeah, no first name was ever given for Bauman, and he never popped into a bar and went, yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, and if you were that person, you would have known that your story was in a book written by a United States president.
Correct.
Somebody
would come out of the woodwork and said, that's me.
Yeah, nobody ever came forward. No first name was ever given, and no one ever came forward claiming to be Bauman.
Huh. I mean, maybe that was his little way of putting it in there, putting his own encounter in there without people thinking he was off his rocker.
Well, like I said, that story in the Wilderness Hunter is literally the only one that is not a story of Teddy hunting.
Right, and the very fact that in that very area he was in, what is it now? It's all what?
National parks.
National park.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you weren't here for that show, Doc, but DA did some digging, and that place is actually pretty notorious.
A lot of people over the last 100 years have gone missing in that area.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a whole show on it, man. It's frightening just how many, including like well-known land surveyors and naturalists, people that had no business, getting lost in the woods, people who made their living in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's their way of life. Yeah, man. And for them to go missing, this is just like that hunter. We've talked about that old man that was gone like a fart in the wind. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. I mean, Michael Scott, I believe, yeah, Bauman was Roosevelt 100%. I think you'll get that consensus here as well, that we all believe that was him right now.
I think we kind of pioneered that theory.
Oh, I 100% think we do, because it
has shown up on a lot of other channels now, though.
Yeah, like at least a year and a half to 2 years prior to us doing our first show about it.
Yep. Yeah, and we've been talking about that for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, thereabouts. Justin Oldfart says, how many mountain men back then were literate? We got no way to know. I mean, I'm sure some of them were, maybe not all of them.
Yeah, a lot of them just wanted to get away from the rat race, get away from Reconstruction, things like that. Just didn't want to be around people.
But I think what he's saying is how many mountain men would have been that articulate and that
True.
being able
Well
to
spoken.
Yeah, that well spoken. Because here's the thing, this goes back on piggybacks what Doc was saying. Teddy's not going to embellish on somebody's story just because of the type of his character.
Correct.
He's going to put down what somebody says. So for him to add stuff or make it something that it wasn't that somebody told him went completely against his character.
Don, I believe, if I remember correctly, that it's a valley up near the Montana-Wyoming border, near where it meets Idaho. It is up there in some deep mountains. Incidentally, not too far from the Absarokas.
Them old mountain devils.
Well, I mean, all the other stuff too. We had talked about. Well, maybe you mentioned this in the shows, and I think this even you put it in the show notes. About the behavior. The tracks, the behavior, the what they had rocks thrown at them, things like that. I mean that meshes up.
Hillary, no name for the partner was ever given, not by Roosevelt, and not by any reference I can find. But the funny thing is like Doc's saying, a lot of the behaviors that are noted in some of these old West stories, since long before they knew the name of Bigfoot, as Bigfoot, the name Bigfoot wasn't coined until 1957, the Jerry Crews incident.
Yep.
Before then, they just called them wild men or mountain devils or forest devils. There's a lot of names that they called them prior to Bigfoot that you can Google search those and find very old newspaper clippings. Like that one on the Gugway show, we talked about a baboon-faced 6-foot tall creature that was spotted near I think it was Edinburgh, Indiana.
Yep.
So yeah, those stories exist long before the term Bigfoot was ever coined, and the behaviors are some of the same things that are being reported even today, like rock throwing and the whoops and the screams and the smells.
It was like going back to 3,000 years in history on this continent. I mean, they described the same types of behavior.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean that hadn't changed, just the time has.
Right, and Native American descriptions describe the same behaviors.
100%. Yeah.
How many times have we said it? Every major civilization on every continent has some type of story about something like this.
Yeah. And pretty much every state in our United States, continental and outside the continental, has it as well. So,
except Hawaii.
Correct. Yeah.
Hawaii has its own version, which are more like the little things. What are they? They freak me out. I can't think of their name.
Pukwudgies.
Pukwudgies. They're more like Pukwudgies than Bigfoot. They're small and hairy.
But that's no different than the orang pendak,
right?
Which is reportedly between 3.5 and 4 feet tall. I mean, they don't all have to be 12 foot tall.
Yeah. Well, if they bear young, they got to start out pretty small. There's a growth cycle, so
well, and how many
even
times
if the average size is 8 feet, they still got to start out at baby all the way up to 8 feet.
Well, and how many times have we talked about the devil monkeys possibly being juvenile Gugway?
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Greg House is just like the hairy man tattoo on my arm. It's on a cave wall from 2,500 years ago. Exactly.
There you go.
And the hairy man is a name that they used a lot down through the years.
Yep.
But the Bauman Incident would have happened in the 1870s because the book came out in 1883. So it probably happened sometime shortly before those stories came out, because he spent, I think it was the better part of a decade, wandering around the American West, hunting and learning to track and doing things like that. So he spent a lot of time out west. So this, I would guess, sometime between when the book was released in 1883. I think it probably within the previous 5 years is when that story happened. So rough guess, 1878 to 1883, somewhere around in there, when the Bauman incident would have occurred. But these stories were commonplace long before the Bauman incident. California gold rush in the 1850s. There are numerous prospector reports of miners reporting hairy giants that stole food and left massive foot tracks. Prospectors talked about getting chased off their claim by wild men. There was even an account in California of a mining camp that was attacked when their families came to visit, and a number of women were allegedly carried off.
Oh wow!
And we're talking about stuff all over the. How many times we talked about the rock apes of Vietnam?
Oh,
they mentioned that in the movie that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, right on.
They get put back there and all this stuff starts happening. He says, "Is that them rock apes?" He said that wasn't no rock ape. So they even mentioned it in the movie Primitive War.
That's pretty cool that they put that in there to make it more realistic.
Hell yeah.
But to put that in that movie, like it was, because I've heard plenty of people, soldiers from Vietnam, talk about that like it was just a known fact that if you were deep in the jungle on a mission, you were probably going to see one of them or more.
Wow.
And the ones in Vietnam were notoriously aggressive.
Mm-hmm. So stuff like this is around. I mean, it's been around. It's not a recent invention.
Right. I mean, look at all the names you can find these by around the world: the Alma, the Almasty, the Yowie, the Yeren. On every continent, the Barmanu in the Middle East. There's names for it on every continent except Antarctica. But even in the Pura Rice map, there's drawings of the Bigfoot-like creatures and dogman-like creatures in the margins on the map.
Yep. I'd like to get a replica of one of those and get it framed. That'd be kind of cool.
For the Pura Rice map, I've got one over there, but it's big. It would take up a whole wall.
Mm.
Well, I've got the portion of it because the whole map was never found.
Hmm.
Also in the 1860s in Oregon, loggers had reports of them. Encounters with loggers was fairly common. They reported giant hairy creatures. In eerie night raids where they'd come in and steal food or break equipment, leaving 18-inch or even bigger footprints. And they would report these shadowy things that would watch them from the tree line. And every one of those are pretty well consistent with, the Bauman incident.
Well, I mean, just like, out here in Colorado, up north in Wyoming in the 1870s, 1880s, same thing happened with cowboys. Cowboys were talking about the mountain devils, which are, I mean, if you read Absarokas, the mountain devil, the Absarokas, that's where that name comes from. They stole cattle, especially calves. And I mean, they wouldn't even
colts and horses.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, man, I mean, it'd make the Cowboys, and they were also, and I'd read this too, that they were worried about them, stampeding herds and all kinds of crap. So those mountain devils are pretty nasty out here in the West, out in Colorado.
Oh yeah,
up in the Rockies.
And there's still places out there where they still call them mountain devils.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bigfoot to some people, like, oh, that don't exist.
Right.
But you say the word booger, and every guy from Appalachian origins is like, yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
They may not think Bigfoot's real, but they dang sure know what boogers are, and they know what the mountain devils are.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Booger's gonna get you if you don't get inside.
Right.
Don't you be in them woods after dark, and boogers will get you.
Boogers will get you. That's right. That brings back memories. Yeah, as soon as we saw as soon as we saw the gopher lights coming on, man, we was like, yeah.
Time to go for home.
Get your ass home.
Exactly. Sometimes I believe I wore a little extra rubber off that bicycle tire, man. Getting after it.
Them old yellow lights.
Oh man. Brings back memories.
Yep.
Them old sodium lights.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you hear the frogs and the crickets start doing their night song, you done too late. That means the boogers is out.
Yep. Don Donaldson says they talk about them attacking cattle in the Texas Hill Country.
Sure do. Up in San Saba County, Kerr County, up in that area, up near Lano. Yep, absolutely, man. One of my buddies lives out in Lano and said it was like a big thing out there. Said farmers and ranchers have been talking about that for hundreds of years, since people have been out in that part of Texas.
Well,
Pretty
there's so many of those old stories. It makes you wonder if some of these folklore, like the story of Paul Bunyan, maybe that was based on something else. Talking about a giant out in the woods.
Yeah, it makes sense. I never thought about that. Huh. That's interesting. I mean, look at all the oral history that was passed down from the natives. I mean, over the years, being not anything bad, but it was more like a protector. Was protective figure of the woods, and wanted you to treat them with respect. So
yeah, well, different tribes had different experiences. Like the Algonquin talked about them, carrying off children and women at night. The Lakota call them big. Shiitonka literally means big elder brother. They were like another tribe that they would trade with. So different tribes in different part of the country had entirely different experiences.
Yeah, they didn't consider them other creatures. They considered them part of another tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think that
every tribe's got lore.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that just lends to what we've always talked about different species, however you want to classify it, because not all Native Americans looked at them like that.
Yeah,
correct. I mean, look at the natives to Alaska, up in the Yukon and everything like that. Totally different encounters because, as we've said many times, the further north we go, they seem to become more aggressive, and so they had totally different thoughts on them. I'm sure.
The colder your climate gets, the less and less that roots and berries are going to sustain you, especially an animal that big. They're going to have to rely on a heavy influx of protein.
Yes.
Well, that's like we said, just about everything up north, a meat eater, unless it's a herbivore.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even surprise me to see moose eating meat every once in a while, as mean as they are.
Yeah, me either.
Well, the stories of these creatures in that time frame isn't just limited to the United States. In the 1880s and the 1890s, there was a segment done in Canadian newspapers called The Wild Man of Yale. The indigenous people, the Saskats and the coastal Salish, and the Stolo people, telling of trappers finding massive footprints in the snow, hearing tree knocks and tree breaks. They were talking about these things carrying people off, or lone hunters just not coming back. Lots of stories from the indigenous people in Canada gave rise to the modern name Sasquatch, because it wasn't originally a name. Sasquatch is not a Native American term. It was actually coined by a Jesuit missionary who heard the stories, and the Saskets is an indigenous tribe, and he derived Sasquatch from Saskets.
Oh, I always thought it came from something around, because it was around Saskatchewan.
Well, that's up there where that tribe's at too. So Saskatchewan may be named for them as well.
It's probably a mix of both.
Probably
where it came from.
Cool. It's interesting.
When we talk about it, the violent ones. Look like Doc said. Look at Alaska, the Nantinaq story, Port Chatham. That happened, in the 20th century. It didn't happen. It happened during the cowboy days, but that whole area is riddled with stories going back to the Russians.
I wonder if that's a Genosqua.
It's certainly big enough and certainly aggressive enough.
Because that's around the same area or that they would have moved in. So you just don't ever hear any descriptions of wearing any kind of armor like that. But
Knightley had a good question. It says, DA, were there any Bigfoot or Dogman sightings in the LBL in the Western times? Actually, they date back before that. The first description of stuff like that, of course, were Native American, but the earliest European descriptions were by French trappers who went through the area in the late 1600s, and they reported what they called the loup-garou, which is the French word for werewolf.
Remember that.
And of course, that wasn't land between the lakes prior to 1963 when those two dams were built. That area used to be known as the land between the rivers, and it was considered cursed ground by the native tribes that lived in the area, and they tried to avoid it.
Never been there. I'd like to go.
So if the Native Americans believed it was cursed land, probably explains a lot why it's even creepier now that it's been forced into a smaller area when they made those two lakes, Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake.
Yep.
Got all that evil in one little spot.
I'm telling you, dude, I stepped out of the truck and I called DA on the phone as soon as I got out of the truck, and I'm like, I was in Demumbers Bay, and I'm like, dude, you were right. This place is creepy. And it was at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Spidey
still
sense
feels
pick
weird.
up.
Oh yeah, it was just,
What was it you said that it was like
I-
you were
I
waiting
would-
for something creepy to step out behind a tree at any moment?
No, we stepped off out of the main camp area. Me and Johnny was walking through the woods, and I was looking around. And I looked at him, and I most people think I'm joking when I say this, but I really seriously believe this. If Jason Voorhees had stepped out from behind a tree, it would not have surprised me, because that's just the feel it had. I mean,
That's funny.
it looked like some of those forest scenes that they filmed, especially during the day where the guy's in the forest and he turns around and looks, and Voorhees just steps out from behind a tree. That is exactly the way the area looked and the feel that it gave. I mean, it was just
Wow.
weird.
Yeah, just there's something about Demumbers Bay. It feels wrong as soon as you get there. That's the only way I can really even adequately describe it. It just feels wrong.
That feeling triples at night.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Dude, that first day I was in LBL, we were camping. We had a cabin across the bay. We were over at the Green Turtle Resort. That's over in what's the name of that little town over there? I can't think of it for the life of me. The name of the town doesn't matter, but it's just north of Demumbers Bay, just north of LBL. But I drove over there by myself and went to Demumbers Bay by myself, and yeah, I regretted it. I really did. Did not realize it was going to be as creepy as it was. When I got out of that van over there, I was like, holy crap, I could be the only person on this damn planet the way
I do believe I may have made a mistake.
Yeah. My zeal for learning overpowered my zeal for staying alive, apparently.
Yeah.
DA's inner monologue was at this time he realized he'd screwed up.
Yeah. It was at this moment DA knew he had messed up. Lone Queen has a good point on here, and I didn't even know about this one. Massive canine mentioned by Louis L'Amour in Treasure Mountain is interesting. I ever have read that book. I might have to check that out and see.
I don't think I've read that one, or if I have, it was a long time ago.
I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
I like Louis L'Amour. You know, there are Bigfoot sightings in Mexico as well.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I mean,
that date back from like the Mayans and the other Native American tribes, the Incas, the Toltecs, and even when the Spanish came in, the Spanish told the same tales. They called them the Sisamite or the Quinametzin. Pre-colonial legends of giants, later Spanish expedition accounts Explorers ambushed by hairy monsters with backward-facing feet. Would that technically be digitigrade feet?
I mean,
That makes sense.
what else would it be?
Yeah, why would they? How would they rationalize, something on two legs with feet that weren't right? Mesoamerican lore parallels and North American Bigfoot traditions. So the Native American tribes down in Mexico, especially in the jungles, told of the same kind of creatures. But I'm wondering if that one, when it's talking backward-facing feet, that immediately made me think of Dogman legs.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Them old dog legs.
Well, and didn't they share some of the same traits like we had talked about earlier? The foul smell, human-like features, facial features, rock throwing, attacking people, things like that, like and the predatory stuff like stalking and hunting.
Yeah.
And all these areas have something in common. They're all real remote too. They're all
very,
very remote areas. And that's hence the word cryptid, because they want to be in a remote area, so they remain hidden.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Very interesting.
Well, the Bigfoot's not the only cryptid that was reported either. I mean, sightings of the Thunderbirds are still being seen in like the Four Corners area.
Well, they have some kind of sighting of something like that. They got allegedly shot down near Tombstone in Cochise County.
Yeah, and from the description, it sounded like a small pterodactyl.
Well, okay, because there was two cowboys out. One of them got attacked, right, and then the other one made it back and was telling them about it or something like that. But then they shot down some big pterodactyl-looking sucker.
Yeah. That was in 1890, and the newspapers reported a winged dragon-like creature shot near Tombstone. There's still cowboy legends told about dragon-like creatures out there in the desert. And as the bird flies or as the reptile flies, that ain't that far from the Superstition Mountains.
And it ain't that far from the Mogollon Rim, where Skinwalker Ranch is.
I mean, there's a reason that old movies like Valley of the Guanji and the creature from what was the name of that creature from Hollow Mountain, cowboys and dinosaurs. I mean, there's a reason that those movies were so popular back then. It was because of all these stories that they used to tell of stuff like that. I mean, I don't think somebody in Hollywood just said, "Hey, you know what? I think this would be a good idea," and just made that up. I mean, there's so many stories.
Yeah, it just didn't materialize out of thin air. And Boondock Mojo has a question for you, DA, because I don't know the thing about Portlock. Has the Kushtaka ever been mentioned in Portlock, Alaska? I don't know what a Kushtaka is.
That's the otter man.
That's the otter man. But I think the otter man is actually just a semi-aquatic Bigfoot. I think it hunts because the fish up there are so plentiful. I think it's a Bigfoot that just comes in and out of the water, either going after sea lions or after big fish. I think the Kushtaka is just another type of Bigfoot, but that's me personally.
We saw an aquatic one.
Yeah, we did. He's wading his ass across a swift-moving river.
Yeah, he was fjording the rivers.
Yeah,
fjording.
Just like Eric the Awful.
The brutal and tenacious.
I just didn't hear him say hurry.
No. All we heard was Doc revving up the engine,
firing it up, getting ready to roll. Judy Wheeler said they saw 3 beings in the Mogollon Rim.
There was a video floating around that got yanked from the internet. Because I've been hunting for it ever since I saw it. There was a video of some old boys out on the Mogollon Rim that took the Ohio howl on a recording, and they played it, and they call blasted it out there, and they did it 2 or 3 times, and they were all laughing about it, some college-age kids. And then all of a sudden they got a call back that sounded very pissed off, and it was almost right on top of them. And the rest of the video was them just dropping shit and running for their vehicle. And that video disappeared after just a few months.
time to go.
Yep, they was out.
Well, I mean, have they surfaced since then, or did they just kind of go radio silent?
Not that I've heard. It
Okay.
was just popped up in my feed, and somebody sent it to me. Like, hey, you need to see this. And I watched it. I'm like, man, this is right around the time we first started the show. And it was a great video. You never saw anything, but that response was definitely pissed off, and it was close. And they were like, you know, the one guy was handing the camera, and they're grabbing shit and throwing it in the back of their little truck and diving in, and then the video cut out. But you know, they were not expecting a pissed off response, literally just yards out from where they were at.
Yeah,
I wonder if Russell knows.
We weren't expecting a response, a hoot owl back to a wolf call.
Yeah, nope. That was odd.
That was very odd.
I wonder if Russell knows where that was at. That's his area of specialty.
We could ask.
Yep. He's in the chat sometimes. If he happens to show up tonight, we need to ask him.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. You know, there were also stories from out there near the Tombstone area and basically all around the deserts of the Southwest of lizard men seen in and around caves.
Old lizard man.
Mm-hmm. Miners and ranchers all reported these humanoid reptiles lurking in caves and deserts and often tied to Native American legends of shapeshifters. And of course, there's the jackalope.
Fast as can me, you'll never catch me. Y'all remember that?
I do.
The old jackalope. What show was that on?
I don't remember. I remember that. I remember fast as can be, you'll never catch me.
Good question for the chat. Anybody remembers what show? I remember it was on a little or like a weekly episodic show, but I cannot
remember it. But I don't remember what it was. You know, in the Tombstone Epitaph in Arizona in the 1880s, there wasn't just that weird winged dragon report. There were also hairy man sightings. Hairy wild men.
Do tell.
Yeah. They occasionally articles reported hairy giants in remote desert ranges. These were often framed as frontier curiosities, blending cryptid lore with tall tales. But numerous people swore they saw them.
Huh. Well, I mean, that's some remote area down there. I can tell you that.
Yeah, just very remote and very desolate.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, mountains and stuff all around. But yeah.
And there are dozens of reports from pioneers that described encounters with wild men who were neither Native American or animal. Said they were said to be covered in hair with glowing eyes and capable of throwing rocks long distances.
No, that don't sound familiar.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, granted, we're talking a lot of generalities here, but we got some more specific ones. We're coming up almost on commercial time. Yep. We got about 5 minutes until we got a break for commercial. So I think I got time to squeeze one in. This was from Mount St. Helens, Washington in the 1840s. Missionaries and settlers reported encounters with hairy giants in the Cascade Mountains. These beings were said to throw stones and emit terrifying screams, details that match modern Bigfoot reports.
Also matches Ape Canyon,
which is right up in that area.
Yep.
But Mount St. Helens, also the same area that when the eruption happened, there were numerous stories of the military hauling out truckloads of Bigfoot bodies.
Yep.
And helicopter loads.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, because they had sling loaded.
Yep.
Boondock Mojo says, DA, have any of you the guys ever seen or heard of the thunder beings? I can't say that I have.
Thunderbirds, but never heard of the thunder beings. Explain, sir.
Yeah, what are thunder beings?
I've never heard of them either. Steve Payton says, when you're up north, remember to bring an extra snow machine and leave it out for the wind to go. Sorry, Doc. Sacrificial snowmobile.
That's right. That's funny. Poncho says, saved another life yesterday with my Dark Angel Ouch Pouch Band-Aids again. Lady's baby got a paper cut at a Chick-fil-A and I sprung into action. Dang, she was married.
Good on you, man. Good on you. Bravo Zulu. The Thunderbird is one of them, he said. Oh, yeah, we've heard the Thunderbirds.
I
Yeah.
heard of the Thunderbird, but I hadn't heard of Thunder Beings. That's something I might have to do some digging into. That sounds...
Yeah, I think Thunderbird is just a pterodactyl sighting.
I think it is too.
Or some
Remnant
pterosaur.
population, something along those lines.
I mean, there's actually several accounts of a pterodactyl-like creature from the desert Southwest in the 1800s, man. Especially from the 1850s on, after it was getting more settled, the more people were out there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's several encounters of that thing being out there.
Yeah.
Ponchos, Thunderbird in Iraq. Probably a different breed of Thunderbird.
Well, they have Barmanu there. I mean, and there's lots of troops reported seeing hairy creatures, especially in Afghanistan.
I was thinking of the F-16.
Yeah.
When they say Thunderbird, I think of the old the Thunder Child.
What's that from?
They called it the Thud. It was an old fighter.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Northwoods is on the board. Thunder
He was
beings
on
can be
earlier.
found Thunder beings can be found at cowboy campfires where beans are being eaten.
I think you boys had enough. I think you boys had enough.
I think y'all had about enough beans.
Somebody gonna have to go back and get a load of dimes.
Oh, F-105 Thunder Chief? Holy old aircraft, Batman. That's pretty rad.
Hell yeah. That may have been the one I was thinking of. It wasn't the Thunder Child, it was the Thunder Chief.
The Thunder Chicken.
That's what we used to call Ford's Thunderbird, the Thunder Chicken. When we used to go drag race out at Greer Dragway, as a guy had one, and the announcer would say, "Here comes this old Thunder Chicken, folks."
Boondock Mojo says, DA, my cousin unknowingly photographed 3 thunder beings in a storm cell cloud over Comanche, Oklahoma. I'll send you the photo. It's going to blow your mind. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
I've been there.
That'd be
Of course.
awesome. Well, boys, we are almost at the 5 minutes till. So as Race would say, it is time for us to pay some bills. So folks, if you need to get a refill or anything along those lines, now would be a great time for you guys to get a cup of coffee or whatever else you need. And we will be right back after these messages.
The Unex Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full-spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unex Network website at unexnetwork.com. That's unexnetwork.com. The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to Research a Haunted House can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unexmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unexmedia.com or amazon.com.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DA Ex Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
Good evening, folks, and we are back. You guys might have recognized a familiar face on that last one. I wanted to throw that one in there. I realized it was a little out of date because it still calls us DAX Machina, but the message is still the same.
Get a kit.
Be the difference.
That's right. Oh, he's got his turtleneck on.
He's a distinguished gentleman. He has a apartment that smells of rich mahogany and leather-bound books.
Only the best of chew toys.
That's right.
He's kind of a big deal.
He's the most interesting dog in America.
He's sitting there looking like, what the heck is this?
What are these idiots talking about?
Is that right? You smell my beef jerky?
Look, where's my beef jerky?
Yeah, I know, right? He thinks it is. You got duck jerky, dude. Eat your duck jerky. All right. Say goodbye, Doc.
Bye, Doc.
All right. Go back to find your mama. Thank you, baby.
Well, boys, would you guys do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
Well, surely.
You guys pick a subject and talk about it for a minute. I had a large container of sweet tea, and it is time to pay the piper. I will be right back.
How about if I read a hairy man encounter?
Hey, that'd be
Read
great.
away, Doc.
I think that'd be a good one. So let's talk about we've been talking about the hairy men out here in the Rocky Mountain region, Bighorn Mountain areas, up in northern Wyoming. So here's a little story, and this one's actually called the Wild Man of the Rockies. And so it starts out, says the cattle drive had been long, the trail dust thick as gunpowder, and the night air sharp with a bite of autumn. Cowboy Elias Boone sat by the fire, hat tipped low, listening to the coyotes sing in the distance. The herd was restless, shifting in the dark. Then came a sound that wasn't a coyote. A low, guttural howl rolled down from the ridge, deeper than any wolf, longer than any mountain lion. The horses stamped nervously, eyes wide and white. Boone rose, rifle in hand, and scanned the tree line, and that's when he saw it. A towering figure, broad as two men, covered in dark hair that glistened in the firelight, and its eyes caught the glow like embers. The creature didn't charge, it just stood watching. And then with a sudden motion, it hurled a stone the size of Boone's fist that landed just shy of the fire, scattering sparks into the night. Boone steadied his rifle, but something in him hesitated. This wasn't a beast. It was something older, something that belonged to the mountains more than he did. The wild man gave a final howl, turned and vanished into the timber, leaving only the echo of its voice and the heavy silence of the herd. And for years afterward, Boone told the tale in hushed tones at saloons and camps. Some laughed, Some shivered, but none could deny the Rockies held secrets, and that night Boone had looked one in the eye. So, what do y'all think about that?
I read that one before you read it on the air. That's a pretty creepy encounter.
That's a very creepy encounter, and it's so funny because it describes what people have said in many other encounters up in this area to a freaking T. Even what one of my family members saw down in Mississippi to a freaking T. There was no violent encounter. It was just maybe observing, letting him know he was there, type of thing. I'm watching you.
I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a couple more of those, Robbie. Do you want to do? Let's talk about that one a little bit first, though. But Robbie, will you do the Wild Man of the Sierras after this? Let's talk about this one for a minute before we do. When you read the behaviors in that, when you think about the behaviors, they're very much like people reporting camping even today.
Extremely, extremely so, man. It just the same type of behavior. I mean, the throwing the rock. I mean, is that overtly aggressive?
Could be.
Could be.
Could be just.
Yeah,
It could be just getting your attention.
That's what I'm saying. It could be overly aggressive, but I mean, if these things are that big and he wanted to throw a fist-sized rock, I'm pretty sure he could throw it a lot more force. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
this one just hit the fire and sent sparks flying. But if it gone zipping by his ear, that's a different animal.
Okay, let's look at the ones up in Alaska. This was in Colorado. Let's look at the ones up in Alaska that Fred dealt with specifically when that thing. He said it threw a boulder the size of a basketball, and it
almost sank their boat.
Almost sank their boat. Came at him so fast he almost didn't have time to duck. That is aggression. You know what I mean? I think these things are just like, hey, who's the ones that call them the watchers of the woods or the watchers in the woods? Doesn't some of the tribes call them watchers of the woods or watchers?
Yeah, Northern California California tribes call them the watchers in the woods.
Yeah, and so the watchers in the woods. So that could be simply what they are, or they could be scoping out. Hey, they got any calves in here for easy pickings? Because I've been kind of craving beef. It's what's for dinner. You know what I mean? So who knows? I don't know.
I think in that particular incident and that story, I know that's in the Rockies. I think that's more of a I'm here and you best be aware of it. Yeah. And that might have been cautionary.
Got my eyes on you.
Yeah, I know you're here, so you best not be screwing around in my backyard.
Yeah, like Lori Gibbs, if you're a dad or a mom protecting his or hers young, they're just, hey, we're letting you know we're here. This is our territory. Do what you dig, but
the equivalent of Doc stepping out the front porch and going, racking a shotgun.
It's happened. It's happened. So yeah. And like Long Queen, the rock throwing seems to be used to suit their purpose, get attention, warning, or in Fred's case, a potentially lethal projectile.
Yep.
So yeah, man, there's a lot of things on there, but I think this dude was just kind of being an observer more than anything. It was like, hey, dude, I'm over here. So I mean, that's kind of the same behavior y'all seen out in your area of the woods too, Robbie, out in South Carolina.
Yep.
And like the ones we observed, the ones we saw, they were coming towards us, which I think was a little more aggressive than I wanted. Or was it aggression or was it curiosity? I don't know.
Well, that night on Combs Ferry, we heard rocks, but I firmly believe if they'd have wanted to hit us, they could have. The rocks never really got that close.
Mm. Oh, but
I think it was more of a "we're here, you need to go."
Right? Yeah, y'all need to GTFO.
And when we didn't, they started getting a little more pushy.
Right. Did you get the photo, DA, from Boon.Mojo?
Did you send it to Facebook or to my email? I haven't checked.
I don't know.
Let's see what he says. Because if he sent it to Facebook, I'm not seeing it.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Dang right.
And breaking glass.
Exactly. He sent email.
Okay, I'll have to go check. You have to give me just a minute.
You want me to read The Wild Man of the Sierra while you're checking
Yeah,
this?
yeah, it'd be a good time to go for it.
All right. The Wild Man of the Sierra. The diggings along the American River were quiet that night. Gold dust had been panned, whiskey poured, and miners' campfires burned low. Jedediah Cross, a prospector with more grit than luck, wandered from camp to fetch some water. The forest was alive with sound: owls, crickets, the rush of the river. Then came silence, a silence so heavy it pressed against his ears. From the shadows of the pines, something moved. A figure stepped in the moonlight, taller than any man Jed had ever seen. Jed. Shoulders broad as a grizzly, its body cloaked in dark hair. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the firelight from camp. Jed froze, bucket in hand. The creature bent, scooped up a handful of river water, and drank. And then it turned its gaze on him. For a heartbeat, man and wild man stared across the clearing. Without a word, the giant rose, gave a low growl, and vanished into the timber, leaving behind prints in the mud so large Jed could fit both his boots inside one. The next morning, Jed showed the tracks to his fellow miners. Some laughed, calling it a tall tale. Others grew pale, whispering of the wild men said to hunt the Sierra. Jed never forgot the eyes. Not animal, not human, but something older, watching from the edge of the frontier. Here's another frontier style. Oh, sorry.
Well, what is the element in that one, Robbie?
The eyes, and it's being something older, not a beast. Because for a split second there, I thought I might be reading the exact same one that you just read. I was like, well, because
Right.
it's so familiar.
That seems to be a common theme. Is that they're older. They're kind of like the ancient ones. I mean, the Lakota even said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that they were the ancient ones, and so I think that's really freaking cool, man. That everybody's kind of getting that. They're not feeling like threatened by them, but they're like, okay, you're here. You've been here longer than me. You ain't quite man, but you ain't quite beast. You're somewhere in limbo.
That story sounds like a lot of camper stories. They saw it down by the creek, or that guy in Bennett Springs here in Missouri that was just sitting fishing, and it came down and crouched down next to him, picked up his stringer of fish, and walked away.
Like, hey, man, appreciate
Thanks
you
catching these for me.
Fish. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're my fish anyway. I'll let you have them. Yeah.
Yeah. I left them there for you. You have fun. Enjoy them.
Exactly. Dude, take all you want, son. Here, you want some beer? You go with it. Goes great. I'll crack it with you. God dang.
Yeah, I imagine that was quite the butt puckering moment.
He's probably glad if he had waders on. He's probably glad he had waders on to catch that load he dropped in his drawers. Good Lord.
I'm gonna show that picture that Boondock sent.
Okay.
Let me,
Proceed, sir.
Share the screen here.
Ooh.
So this was taken in from a thunderstorm, and did it pop up? Oh, I got to show it up. There we go.
I'm about to say, I ain't seen it.
It does look like figures in the. Looks like people. Well, at least one, and maybe partially another over here. That certainly looks like a person peeking out through the clouds. That's kind of crazy.
That's definitely interesting.
Yeah, that's wild.
Looks like a teddy bear on my screen. Sorry, my screen is the picture's about that big. I'm sitting there looking at it. I said, is that a teddy bear? But it's definitely humanoid.
Yeah.
Pancho sees it too. I see Sugar Bear. That's a cool cloud, though, man.
That is a cool cloud formation.
Look like a mushroom cloud.
Maybe a little bit.
Like off a nuclear device.
Yeah, well, my brother Keith was just saying the one he experienced over a decade ago. He believes it was just observing him because he had a fire going out in this very remote area on the land down there.
That's one he was telling us about that night when we were going to meet DA. Yep.
That's it. Yep. Yep.
You think it'd be wild if, like, in the movie, remember the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy?
Mm-hmm.
They get stories from this guy sitting at his campfire, and all of a sudden this Bigfoot comes hauling ass into camp, stomps out his fire, and takes off.
That would be pretty funny, man.
Turns around,
You're going to burn these damn woods down. Stop it.
I was about to say, turns around and looks at him and says, only you can prevent forest fires, and then takes off.
That's funny, man. That would be good. I like that a lot. Yeah, I bet that was a hell of a storm, man.
Yeah.
He said that was one hell of a storm, boys. I bet it was, brother. That was.
Yeah, that would freak me out to see it, especially if they were moving, because that's just a still image. But if that had been a video and those things were moving around, I'd be like,
oh, yeah.
What in the hell is in that cloud?
Well, I mean, do you remember the dude that caught that big ginormous figure on top of a mountain, and he started talking about it, and then
he disappeared.
He was gone like a fart in the wind, son. Out of here.
After releasing a video that was like he was coerced into saying, I made all of this up, and he kept looking off camera like he was freaking out. Yeah, they shut that boy up.
Yep. That's some Men in Black crap right there.
Seriously.
Right. Remember Hot Shots Part 2? Richard Crenna, when he's like, they are taking excellent care of me. I am not being hurt at all.
Oh, man. Woo. Holy smokes, dude. That's
what
funny.
Would the show be without some movie quotes?
That's right.
There you go. Well, we got one more of those stories I'd like to share with y'all. This one's called The Watcher on Red Butte. Says the herd had bedded down near Red Butte, the fire crackling low as the cowboys swapped stories. Caleb Hart, trail boss, kept his Winchester close, not for rustlers, but for the strange cries that had haunted the drive for 3 nights running. At midnight, a sound came again. No coyote, not a wolf, a deep, chest-rattling bellow that rolled across the canyon like thunder. The cattle stirred, hooves pounding nervously against the earth. Caleb rose, lantern in hand, and scanned the bridge. There, a silhouette against the moonlight. Towering, broad-shouldered, covered in hair that shimmered like shadow, its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the fire. Shimmered like shadow. Would that be redirecting, like a clear hair shaft redirecting moonlight?
I would think so.
That's chef's kiss, like a prime example of that clear hair shaft.
Mm-hmm.
The creature crouched, picked up a stone, and hurled it down the slope. It struck near the herd, scattering the cattle in panic. The cowboys scrambled, shouting, but Caleb stood frozen, staring at the figure. It didn't descend. It didn't attack. It simply watched, a sentinel of the wilderness, claiming the night as its own. With a final howl, the mountain devil turned and melted into the timber, leaving only the echo of its voice and the churned dust of fleeing cattle. For years afterwards, Caleb swore the creature wasn't beast or man, but something older, a guardian of the high country, reminding cowboys that the frontier was never truly theirs.
Yeah.
And there it is again, Doc.
There it is again. It's same common theme. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Well, not only that, man, but this. I mean, again, it wasn't aggressive. It was more just like another, hey, here I am. You know what I mean? So,
I see you.
Yeah, I see you. I mean, there's many through the frontier. The more populous, and here's the thing, man. Why did the reports occur? Why more frequently back then? Well, because there were more people settling out west. So it's been happening for thousands of years. Just we didn't see it because we weren't there and nobody was there to report it. But now that they started coming in.
Well, and now the general population lives in big cities and places like that.
Yep.
You don't have as many people out pushing out into the wilds like you did back then. Number one. And number two, people weren't looking for their 15 minutes of fame on stuff like this.
You couldn't post something on Reddit in 1885.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, and speaking of that, in 1880s, okay, And this happened before then, but somebody had asked on here earlier, and I was thinking about it too. What about the Lovelock Caves? What about the Setika, the
Red-headed giant.
redheaded giants? You know, the
I don't
Paiute.
remember what
Or
year that
red-haired.
was. I'd have to look that up. I think it was in the late 1800s.
There was, I think it was they had some miners had talked about it back in, or somebody had found something back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. But yeah, it was 1911. It says in 1911 when I just looked it up, when they found that they were discovered while they were digging for bat guano. So digging for bat poop, and they found these big ginormous skeletons that went to
The Smithsonian.
that big unknown.
And they were gone. Magic. Right?
that black hole of information, the Smithsonian.
It's funny how so much of the cryptid evidence that has gone to the Smithsonian over the years, it all has one thing in common. It no longer exists. So, I mean, happenstance, coinky dink? I think not.
Of course not. The Smithsonian doesn't have any recollection of this. How can you say something like that?
Despite the fact that the museum in Lovelock has the receipt.
Exactly. So that's the funny thing. So, I mean, what do y'all think about them? Do you think they were indeed some kind of cannibalistic giant, or do you think they were some sort of aggressive cinnamon hair? Because there have been reports of red-haired, cinnamon-haired, light brown haired cryptids out there. So what do y'all think?
Well, the giants of Lovelock Cave, the description that the natives gave, oddly enough, matches the description given by the soldiers from the red-haired giants of Afghanistan.
There you go. Who were also cannibalistic in nature.
Doc, didn't you say you were stationed with some of them boys that supposedly went out there to either pick that group up, or were you on base with some of them or something?
No, I know I never was in the stand, man, but I know some of those guys that were because it was a search and rescue guys, and so they had it was basically shut up in color.
Yeah, and but wasn't it also some of the guys you knew that were crew chiefs that reported seeing them on thermal as they were coming in and out of Bogger?
Oh no, that wasn't me. I can't remember who that was. They had seen it on thermal running. God dang it! That was one of our guest ones. I think.
No, that was one of our former.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking it was Doc that told us that.
No, it came from somebody else. And videos, because we were the three of us and that person were talking about it. Because remember, we talked about how the way it ran looked just like the way Patty was running in that video.
But that was actually pretty compelling thermal video too.
That was.
And that was from what I remember, that was from a Night Stalker helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 160.
I've got to check my hard drive, see if I've still got that video.
Yeah, that was a good video. That was actually, because like you said, Robbie, the arm swing and everything, and the stride, it was extremely natural, and you could see it next to the trees and get a good scale of how tall it was. It was big. It was well over 8 feet.
Oh, definitely.
And it moved exactly the way Patty moved in the Patterson Gimlin video.
Yeah, it was not unnatural at all. And yeah, that's pretty interesting, man. Yeah, but I was just curious because somebody had asked the Lovelock Cave question earlier, and I was like, I wonder if they're just a really aggressive, cryptid or something, or are they some kind of Nephilim or something like that? Who knows?
I mean, I think it's just like any other, like we use bears as an example many times. There are lots of bears that are not aggressive towards humans, and there are bears that are aggressive. I mean, I think some of them are, some of them are just, I don't know if peaceful is the right word to use, but for lack of a better term, peaceful.
Yeah.
or non-aggressive. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And it's like the whole thing, like we're all like all of us have said, several people in chat and us too, that we think they could be the watchers in the woods. They could just be, talking about that kind of stuff, or how we've been talking about this kind of stuff, how they are watching and they're just observing to make sure we're not doing anything hinky. But the further north you get, that's where things can get a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, up up in it's British Columbia and on up into the Yukon Valley or the Yukon area and Nahanni Valley.
The
Mhm.
Nahanni Valley.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the trappers and the prospectors up in the Yukon back in the early 1800s were talking about the wild man, the hairy man, the devil of the woods. They had all kinds of different names for him. So, I mean, that wasn't any. It wasn't like it was. It wasn't sporadic. It was pretty consistent stories from people who had never even talked to each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever you have people who've not talked to each other and they have pretty much the same encounter from the same geographical area, that to me, that lends a lot of credibility to their story. It's not just,
I mean, but you can take that a step further, Doc, and look at this. Look at the stories in that time frame from here and across, across the world, and you can draw all those similarities. That's even more telling when you got, two civilizations that there's no way other than by ship that they could have, coerced or conferred with each other, and their stories are all the same or nearly, that's telling.
It does, man. It really does add so much credence to these folks' stories, because otherwise you go, oh, well, that dude's just parroting what that other dude's saying, just to get some attention. But they're like, dude, we're in two different areas, just like two different continents having the same type of encounters. Just like Afghanistan and Lovelock Cave, which that's it's in Nevada. It is in Nevada. So I think it was Roxanne just asked that question. Where is it? Yeah, it is in Nevada. So yeah, man. I mean, I think that adds a lot of credibility to these people's stories, and there's so many of them out there that come from people who have never talked to each other.
Right. And that's the really, really awesome part, is finding, stories that are almost identical from people that had no connection.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And different times, different places. I mean, and they all say the same thing, just like, go back to the First Nations, in Canada, and the Native Americans, the Indigenous tribes here, they were saying the same things, through their oral history as they passed it down. And then when we started coming out that way, same thing started happening to us. We're like, hey, these kind of mesh up.
Look at cave drawings from the First Nations, and then ones you find in Russia and places like that, where they all look the same. There's no way it's just like we talk about the Inca stones all the time. How did these people draw pictures of what looks like a brontosaurus or a stegosaurus or a T-Rex 4,000 years ago when they couldn't get on the Googles and see what it looked like? They do it because they saw it.
How do you have pyramids on 3 different continents that were built roughly around the same time with almost the exact down to the meter, down to the yard footprint? So, and laid out in a geospatial manner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
It lines up with astral features up there. So, kind of neat stuff. I don't know.
Well, it's definitely food for thought, though.
A lot to ponder. A whole lot to ponder.
It's just, but it's like we've said, DA. If you start thinking about it in terms like that, it's a whole lot easier to believe that things like this exist than it is to start believing that it's a hoax. Because how big of an organization would it take to keep a hoax like that going for as long as it's been going, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years?
Right. I mean, you think about the ancient Mexican cryptid folklore, pretty much exactly matched the Roosevelt Bauman story.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, almost down to the T. And I'm sure that Teddy Roosevelt and the ancient Mexicans, the Aztec cultures never what was it, the freaking Sisamite and Quinametzin, I'm sure he never talked to those cats because they predate him by a few hundred years. So it's very interesting to me how all these stories link up across time, across distance, and they are pretty much the same when you get down to the base of it. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm running my mouth, but it's kind of interesting to me. It's fascinating.
Oh yeah.
So, yes,
it is very, very interesting, sir.
Indubitably. Yeah, Judy Wheeler's yes, yes, and yes. No, I mean, yeah, and Lori Gibbs, it's kept quiet for a reason. Yeah, it is. I mean, and why we've said this many, many times, these people who write these encounters, these people who have talked to us, these people who have come forward and said things, what was the biggest thing? They didn't want to be, they didn't want to be perceived as someone unstable. It's like what DA said in the law enforcement field, you got to go in for a whiz quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go in for a P test because obviously you're pharmaceutically enhanced if you're talking that kind of nonsense. And so that's the reason I think
that would have happened under pretty much every department except Joe Mahan. Joe would have been like, really? Yeah, badass. Take it out of the report before we both have to go.
Yeah, I could see Joe do it, and then he'd be like, hey, take me to where that is. Let's go check that out.
Exactly.
I think Joe.
We can't put this in the report, but you got to show me where this happened.
Right. Yeah, Chief. If you're watching tonight, yeah, that's probably exactly what you'd do, man, for sure. Yeah, and but it is. I mean, that's why so many people have not said anything. It's the reason my brother didn't come out for more than a decade to talk about it because it was after one of our shows that he felt confident enough to even talk about it to know that he wouldn't be met with ridicule. I mean, I still told him, I still ridiculed him. He's my brother. I have to.
Oh, yeah, you gotta.
I gotta do that. But it was, it's funny, man. Yeah, funny stuff.
Can you hear what from me, Lori?
That's her way of saying I'm talking too much.
Nah. Yeah, Rodney's right. That would have been when he was chief. If I'd have said, "Chief, he'd been like, take it out of the report, but come here, let's talk about it. I want to know about all this."
Right.
But when we look at these, what are some of the common things? Between 7 and 10 feet tall, covered in dark fur, and I love that detail on how it seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. I mean, that's right there with the clear hair shaft theory. Human-like features, foul odors, rock throwing, stalking camps, livestock raids. All of these are from all over, from Mexico to Canada, from people that never met each other. And like Robbie is fond of saying, this was before the days of the Googles. You couldn't just look this stuff up on the internet. These people had to have been seeing something very similar.
Yeah,
and the smell.
And I've said this from my encounter when I was a kid too, that it just, all I could really see was this area here. The rest of it was just almost, I mean, you could tell the silhouette, but it was almost just like it was just a shadow in the shadow. It was like you could see the silhouette of it, but it's just like barely see the silhouette of it. Almost like what you drew, Doc, when we were back in your hotel room that night.
Yeah.
That outline.
Yeah.
That's almost what I could see was just like the edge of the outline, but then this area right here that didn't have any hair on it, you could see. So almost like that was just floating there, but you, like I said, you could see the outline and the shape of what you drew was the exact outline.
Dude, that gives me chills, bro. When you just said that. Now, let me ask you this too. Did you see as far as the nose, what kind of features?
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Nose was like, the best I've ever been able to describe is it like a gorilla type nose. It was kind of
Okay.
flat and sunk in. The nostrils flared out, but that whole the area around the eyes, the nose, and the lips were the only things that I could see that didn't have any type of fur on it.
So it had a wicked beard, wicked,
Like
heavily facial hair, whatever.
yeah,
Okay. Dang, man.
conical shaped head, just like you drew. Pull that picture up. I know you got it somewhere right there around you, don't you?
It's right here, dude.
This is the picture Doc drew after Thermal Don't Lie was coined.
On a hotel room napkin. Yeah, because I mean, you can see them right there.
Yep. Now that shape is it's like I could see the outline of that shape.
Hey, Doc, get that picture back out again. Now, take it back just a little bit and point to about where me and Dumbass there, where we had actually made it to.
Right there. You know where me and Noah were? Down here.
Out on the bridge.
We were on the bridge. They were not on the bridge. They were getting flanked by this jackwagon over here.
We were 50 yards away, approaching the first two.
Holy crap! I need to get that laminated, dude. I really do.
Or frame it.
Scan it in, yeah. Frame it, yeah. Dude. That was a. But it's funny you say that because when you were just talking about that, Robbie, and you started talking about the different shape, how it matched that. You and we had never talked about the shape of that thing, and that's exactly what I saw that Bell confirmed with eyeshine. So yeah, crazy stuff, man. I mean, and again, two people in two different areas of the country. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I 100% agree with that, Rodney. I know.
Amen. Yeah, and you and I never talked about the head and the shoulder shape and the outline either until just now. Crazy. That's neat, man. Yeah. So, and what other are some of the no matter what they're called, especially in the lower, more so in the lower 48. They're not. There are some aggressive encounters, but for the most part, no matter who you talk to, no matter the tribe, they're thought of as an older brother or as a watcher, as a person or a tribe that predates their tribes.
Right.
Yeah.
But one thing you got to bear in mind, folks, is, it's not like they could call 911 back then. If there was a violent encounter, odds are it ended badly, and that story didn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
That just ended with a marshal or a traveler finding an abandoned cabin and not knowing what the hell happened with everybody.
And how many of those were written off as
Indian attacks,
Indians or bandits or
bears, or
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, as far as aggressive behaviors go, what accounts are there of attacks on homesteads or farms, sieges, kind of like
right off the bat? Comes the Teddy Roosevelt story. Their camp was attacked, and one of the campers was killed. Then we got Ape Canyon, where they kind of brought that one on. They shot and possibly killed one of the creatures, and then they attacked their cabin that entire night.
Now, where was Ape Canyon? What part of the U.S.?
That's in Oregon, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's near Mount St. Helens.
Yeah, right near I think it's actually in Washington because it's in that general vicinity. It may be in Oregon, but if I'm remembering right, I think it's actually in Washington. But it's right in that Mount St. Helens range. But the basic of that story, little mining camp. And I don't remember if they had been seeing this thing for a little while before, but basically what DA is talking about is one of the miners saw this thing on the trail in front of him or behind him or whatever, and he shot it, and it either
Fell
walked,
off into the canyon.
it fell off into the canyon. He goes back, tells the rest of the guys about it, and they're all like, "Oh, well, okay, well, we'll go look for it in the morning, or we'll do something about it in the morning." Well, that night, the mining camp or the mining cabin that they were all staying in got attacked, throwing big rocks on it. I mean, if they hadn't built that shack to withstand, a lot of stuff, they probably wouldn't have made it out of there. But
it had to be built for heavy snow loads.
Yeah.
So,
but they ended up shagging out of there the next morning, left all their, and how, like DA said earlier, stuff with the traps and stuff, mining equipment and things like that were not cheap back then. They left all that stuff and beat feet.
That's
GTFO'd.
Yeah, that's very similar to a story I collected here in Missouri. Used to be a little general store in Sleeper, Missouri, and when I was 17, 18, I stopped in there. I'd drive back country roads looking for anything, and this was when I was still pretty young. But I stopped at that little general store in Sleeper. I was going to get a cold drink, soda, and there was these two old men sitting on the front porch, and I've been rocking chairs, and they were both probably up there. They were probably in their 80s or 90s then, and this would have been about 1987 or 88. And I asked them if there were any Bigfoot or booger stories. I said, I've heard them called both. And he said, son, you buy us one of them soda pops, we'll tell you everything we know. So I went in, and back then you could buy a 16-ounce glass bottle of Coca-Cola for about 75 cents. And I tell you, that was one of the best $1.50s I've ever spent in my life, was sitting and listening to them two old men talk, as they talked to me for hours. But apparently there was a group of brothers named the Crawford brothers that lived just outside of Sleeper back in the 1920s and 30s. And during the Great Depression, they fed their family. There was three brothers. They fed their family by cutting wood and selling wood. In fact, my grandfather did the same thing. My grandfather Ora Roberts, O-R-A, he sold wood, and that's how he helped supplement and feed the family during the Depression. But that's how these fellows fed their family, and they were all fairly young, like probably my age at the time, teenagers. Well, somewhere out in the woods between Sleeper and Richland, Missouri, I've not been able to locate exactly where, but they went out and found themselves a camp, and they set up out in the deep woods, set up a sawmill and everything. And the plan was to cut wood, cut it into lumber, and drive it into town and sell the lumber. And they had everything set up, tents set up, had a sawmill set up with an old crank powered little motor to turn over slow and keep turning the wheel. They had all this set up out there, and then one night, one of these things came into camp, and one of the brothers shot it. And it didn't kill it. It went running back out of camp screaming bloody murder. Well, it wasn't about 20 minutes later, about a dozen of the things came into camp, hooping and throwing rocks and smashing stuff. And these brothers dropped everything but their guns and jumped in the truck and left it and would not go back for any of it. And in the Great Depression, that was a huge outlay of money. Saws, all the tools they needed to cut lumber, they left it all and wouldn't go back for it.
Interesting.
And I kind of got the feeling one of those old boys that was telling the story was one of the Crawford brothers, because he wouldn't give me a straight answer when I asked him if he was there. And he's like, well, that was a long time ago and stuff like that. Yeah, he was steadily evading my questioning.
Yeah, he was.
But he did tell me the story.
That's interesting.
And it's still one of the better stories I've collected from this area.
Now, what about in the desert Southwest in the Four Corners area? Any standoffs or sieges by the hairy men?
There are lots of stories. There's a Navajo researcher named Brenda. I can't remember Brenda's last name. Many of you guys have heard it. Me and heard it, and me and Robbie and Jesus talk. We got to talk to her. Brenda Harris. She's a friend of Jesus's. Well, Brenda has documented lots of attacks on the Navajo reservation. Jesus found a horse with its rear leg ripped off on
That's
the
the
Navajo
one. That's the
reservation.
one. Yeah.
And Jesus also said there are entire sections of housing out on the res that are just abandoned because people have been ran out. Brenda Harris documented multiple cases of, because a lot of people out there, they have trailer houses because they're cheap. People would find the front door of a trailer house ripped off, and the people that lived there just gone.
You know what? Jesus
Left every-
even filmed one out there. Remember, because
Yep.
he was riding with some folks. He was driving some folks. He got
I was
out.
running along that river bottom.
Yep, and he was filming it.
Yeah, that's
And
on his channel.
Yeah, I remember when that first came out, but that's been years ago. Because that made
Roxanne,
several stuff.
yeah, there's a lot of violent activity out there. Roxanne says, DA, what do you think about the Bigfoots found on Mount St. Helens after it erupted? Oh, I firmly believe it happened because I've heard it from so many different sources.
Yep. Military involved with trucking them and chopping them out probably by the hundreds.
So here's a little bit of history. I was talking about in Mexico, how they called it the Sisamite. The Mayans referred to it as the Sisamite, but the Aztecs, they believe the Mayans got the word from the Aztecs. The Aztec word was Zitzimitl, that they think Sisamite came from that. But Zitzimitl means demon.
Hmm.
And those reports go back 2,000 years.
Ooh wee.
Of ape-like beings. They're saying that creatures like that were deeply rooted in Mesoamerican culture.
Wow. I mean, so there you go. I mean, that even predates the. I mean, my gosh. I mean, that's almost back to biblical times. You know what I mean?
It basically is, yeah.
Time of Christ. I mean, and so
long before there were European settlers.
Right. That far predates the conquistadors and everything like that, who had reported the same type of thing.
Well, even look at the Vikings. They, when they were out here, the Skrælings.
Yep, that's right. So I mean, you get it from both sides. You know what I mean? You're getting it from the Vikings who came in because they came down through the St. James, and then you got
the St. Lawrence and
St. Lawrence
up in the Hudson Bay area.
The Hudson Bay area, and you got the conquistadors who came up from the south, and they're all seeing the same freaking thing, man. So, and then you got the ones coming from the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. So yeah, it's different times and different cultures, different continents, and they're all seeing the same exact thing. So there's a lot of continuity there, and it culminates in the Southwest, where I think there's probably a lot more stories out there that we've never even heard.
Oh yeah, I guarantee you, there's lots of stories we haven't even touched. We haven't even cracked the surface of the amount of lore there is.
Yeah, with all kinds of different cryptids, not just talking about the Bigfoot, or anything like that. So there's
the hallmark of the stories from Mexico, from those jungle regions. The big hallmark on those is like the Bauman Incident. They're violent.
Okay.
You don't get a whole lot of peaceful encounters. Even the Aztecs and the Mayans documented these things are dangerous and you need to be aware of them.
I'll be doggone. Huh. That's
This
crazy.
Renee's reminded us we get the 15-minute warning.
Well, just think about what your Uncle Buddy used to tell you about. He didn't say, "Oh, they're friendly and they're nice." He's like, "Don't you go in that area because you might not come back."
Right. And when I went to track that deer, he's like, "Where are you?" And I told him, he's like, "You need to get the hell out of there right now.
And
go looking for that deer. You ain't gonna find it."
That's right. And it's like that deer's already gone.
It was like a trophy buck. I mean, I would have had the rack mounted on that thing.
Wow.
It was easily a 12-pointer.
And see, it's something that we've talked about on every show. Are there in every species? Just look at Homo sapiens. Are there good people? There are non-aggressive people, and there are aggressive people. Could it be the same exact thing? Let's look at it from an anthropological standpoint. Violent culture, non-violent culture, violent tribe, non-violent tribe. I mean, my God, look at the Plains Indians. There were some violent tribes, there were some non-violent tribes. for the most part, the Cheyenne were not, Kiowa, they're not hugely violent, but you look at the Comanche and Apache, they were known for being very territorial and very warlike. We have a sighting. Contact front.
I seen him.
Yeah, it could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as I think they're within with those dudes. I think there are cultural differences, don't you, Robbie?
100%. It's like we've said. I mean, and you just used the example. Some cultures of humans. I mean, look at all these tribes in Borneo and Papua New Guinea and all these that were, headhunters and cannibals. That's not distinctive of the entire human race, but there are elements that are bad. I mean, we view it as bad. They don't view it as bad. They view it as just that's just what they do. But society as a whole looks at that as bad. But it's just it's
to them. It's just another day.
Yeah,
right.
That's their culture. That's how they live.
Roxanne, Lori, we would love to do more stories, but we are rapidly running out of time. Since we're with Unex, we have a very strict, we've got to stick to 2 hours. So we're going to have to start winding things down. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go on, but we can't go on much longer, but we are going to pursue this subject some more. So I may collect some more stories, and come Wednesday night, maybe we'll do another one where we're talking historical stories of these creatures. I'll go to the same source where I found those first ones. It was from an old magazine called The American Frontiersman that is no longer in print, and I happen to find those at an archive, and I'll go comb that archive and see if I can find some more of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Those were good.
Yeah, I kind of stumbled onto it. I hope I still got the website address.
Yeah, and I like the way, like we had talked about, it was from different areas, but they were all saying different encounters, different people. They were all saying pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, they're seeing something very similar.
Yeah.
And even the behaviors are similar.
Mm-hmm. And even their feelings on them were similar.
Yep. Right. That they were something older than humanity.
Correct. Yeah.
Again, that fits right into the uncanny valley theory.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
On why people all over the world fear something that looks almost like them in the dark.
Y'all just be safe when you go out there. That's all we got to say.
That's right. And I love that one detail of it showing like almost shimmering in the moonlight. That to me, that's just like I did chef's kiss. That's just perfect. The clear hair shaft would produce that kind of effect.
Just like we had that show was it MK?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when he was showing that thing stop, and it basically just disappeared. Then you didn't pick it up until it moved again.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty. I don't know, man. It was pretty. I was like, that was one of the big things for me. I was like, holy crap, that's
that clip from the Paul Freeman footage.
Yeah.
That is a perfect example of adaptive camouflage.
Absolutely.
In action.
Just like those doll sheep that you had that video, Robbie. I mean, how many can you count? And there's like a whole, like a cucaracha.
It was an explosion of doll sheep.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Okay. We're coming up on the 10-minute now. We're going to go ahead and start winding things down. We had a commercial from the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical. So why don't we hear it directly from the horse's mouth? Doc, tell us real quick here just a little bit about Dark Angel Medical, where to find it, and about the discount code.
All right, folks. So if you head over to darkangelmedical.com or www.darkangelmedical.com, you'll find a wide variety of trauma kits, anything from minor boo-boos up to a mass casualty incident bag called our St. Mike bag. So we got our ouch pouches all the way up to our St. Mike bag. So we got a wide variety of products out there. They're all FSA, HSA eligible. So if you've got that, one of those accounts, you can utilize those funds on our site. If you utilize one of our products to save a life, and you send us some sort of documentation and let us know what you use. I'll replace absolutely free whatever you use for the rest of your life. So it's called our Kit for Life Guarantee. Not only that, we also do training. So if you check out our training page, we got our 2026 class schedule coming up. And so go ahead and feel free to peruse that site for your training and your products, because one is no good without the other. So head over to darkangelmedical.com and get that kit, get that training, and be the difference.
Absolutely. And Robbie, you want to tell us a little bit about Scallywag Tactical?
Scallywag is another one of our affiliates, veteran owned, make some of the best blades you can find. And Craig and the boys are constantly coming out with new blades. Go check them out. Tell them we sent you. Use code Cryptid20. Is that the one or is it DA Roberts?
DA Roberts 10.
I'm sorry. I just heard Doc say that. That's why it was in my head. DA Roberts 10 at checkout. Get yourself 10% off. I don't think they have an update on
I haven't
the
seen it
blades.
in a while.
Yeah. So, but still, you get a 10% discount on your order by using DA Roberts 10 at checkout.
And our newest of the affiliates is the good folks over at Sigwo Arms. That is this group right here, sigwoarms.com. Purveyors of fine firearms and pew-pews and whisper pickles and freedom seeds. Check them out for all your firearm needs. That's, again, sigwoarms.com. Use discount code Bigfoot5 for 5% off your order. And believe me, that does add up. Plus, they also already have really good prices. Right now, you can pick up 500 rounds of 5.56 for $205, and that comes in a carrying case.
Wow.
So that is less than 40 cents, like around 40 cents a round. I picked up 200 rounds of 9mm hollow point for $54. That's incredibly good deals. So check them out. Let them know we sent you. Tell the place is ran by two guys. God dang it! Just completely slipped my mind. The Codys. There's two guys named Cody. And tell them we sent you. And again, use discount code Bigfoot5 or 5% off your order. And that's all the affiliates we're gonna talk about. But we do there's just one thing we always want to talk about, and that's the 22 a Day Foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many, folks. Check on your friends and family that are first responders or veterans in any capacity, or even active duty, as the holidays are a hard time, especially for folks battling PTSD. So let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you care, because again, 22 a day is 22 too many. Reach out, folks. We've all been there. Reach out if you need help, because we'd rather hear your story than read your obituary. Again, Amen. The 22 a Day and the Officer Down Memorial page. Go to mission22.org or odmp.com and be a difference in the lives of these men and women that have sacrificed so much for us. And as we're winding it down, kind of wanted to close it out with this. From Roosevelt's trappers to Mexico's jungle giants, the frontier was never empty. It was alive with watchers in the dark, hairy giants, wild men, and guardians of the wilderness. Whether myth or memory, these stories remind us that the frontier had more than outlaws to fear. It had cryptids. So, folks, we're going to close her out with a toast. Which one of you boys wants to do the toast tonight?
I don't know. Did I do it last time, or did you do it, Robbie? I don't
remember who did it.
I did it because you didn't.
That's right. All right. So everybody, remove your covers if you would. And this is from the Irish drinking song called "The Parting Glass." But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Slanjava.
Good night, everybody. Slanjava. We'll see you on Monday for Monday Mayhem, and you're back here Wednesday night for... Oh, that's right. We won't have a Monday Mayhem this week because Robbie's not available. So sorry about that, folks. No Monday Mayhem this week, but we'll be back at a regular time on Wednesday night for the next Nightmare Hunters. Slanjava, happy holidays, and thank you guys for being part of the Nightmare Nation.
Slanja.
plains, the winds are howling, saloon doors swinging, shadows growling. 3 lawmen stand tough as rawhide. Yeah, Doc and DA, nothing can abide. Whiskey shots and poker faces, staring down the darkest spaces in this town where legends roam. These boys bring justice, sending evil home. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Jed's a howler, claws of steel, Doc's a biter, makes the devil real. But DA's a shifty one, a shape-shifting soul, can turn to anything, takes any form, takes control. Tonight the chupacabras come to town, sucking the life from all around. But these lawmen, they ain't afraid, they'll face the darkness unafraid. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Full moon rises, bat wings flap, the air grows cold, a chill and trap. But these lawmen, they're ready to fight underneath the pale moonlight. Jed and Doc transform with a howl, DA shifts, becomes a night owl. Together they stand, a force so strong against the evil right in the wrong. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night.